Well, it's an honor to be with you, Dr. Carlos. And so I guess we could probably start just by having you uh, um, tell us where you are now, what your role with the JACR is, and how long you've been in this role, and some of the remarkable changes you've seen since you started.
Dr. Lou Join, if I may please call me Ruth.
Sure.
It's been a great ride. So I started with the JCR as a deputy editor. Bruce asked me as part of their strategic planning to make sure that there was someone who could step in and run the journal in case the unthinkable happened. And if you can believe it, I initially turned him down because he wanted the deputy editor to uh, expand the JCR social media presence. This was about 10 years ago when social media was really starting to hit the mainstream, and Bruce, ever the forward thinker, wanted the JCR to participate there. So I told him perhaps he needed someone younger who had a finger on the pulse of what social media was doing. I was lucky in that he told me to go home, think about it, and I did. And I realized that I could help shape the journal in other ways besides expanding its social media presence. And also, um, I started to think about what the core business is of a journal, and it really is about communication. We happen to communicate science, but ultimately it's about reaching people where they are when they're ready to learn. And I don't I am agnostic about how we disseminate science. We can disseminate it through the manuscripts that come in. It undergoes a rigorous peer review. Once it's peer reviewed, I think we can take those manuscripts, pull out the key points, pull out the really really salient finding, and broadcast it in as many channels or venues as we can to reach as many people as possible. And that's always been my vision for the journal. I want the journal to be everywhere.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I have to say, I've been impressed by when the members of the editorial board are listed in the JCR, their Twitter handles are there as well. So it really underscores the social media engagement that the journal leadership has.
So, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, um, uh, how, as a learner, how can the JCR continue to meet the changing needs? We have less time to dive in, sometimes less appetite, just because we have so many other things going on. So, how can the JCR continue to remain relevant in a very an increasingly crowded space, but also in an increasingly crowded individual life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I have to say that in looking at the way I've digested information from journals, from receiving the journals in the mail, opening the package, and setting aside time to read them, it is much more challenging these days to actually put aside the hour to go through all the articles in a journal. And so the the ability to perhaps engage readers through social media or through email alerts or through electronic means is one avenue by which we can get these small feedings of what the journal has to offer on our smartphones when we're waiting in line in the grocery store or stuck in traffic or waiting to board an airplane. That's what we do when we read the news these days.
Yeah.
We rarely actually just pick up a paper newspaper to read. But I don't want to discount the value of the paper journal because I do sit down and read the print journal as well. But I think the electronic outreach can certainly help get us a little bit farther ahead in terms of making sure we get full advantage of the journal.
I mean, it's interesting that you refer to feeding people information. And what I want, in addition to the substantive meal of three courses plus cheese plus dessert plus cappuccino at the end, I want info snacks because sometimes that's all I have appetite for. is a little bit of learning that I can fit into my day between cases, and in the audio format, something that I can listen to on my ride home or when I'm exercising, so that I can occupy my mind at the same time. So I'm really grateful that you have decided to champion this particular uh, uh, channel and help grow it with us. And as a before I became involved as a researcher and as an editor, I've always wondered how people get their ideas. How did you think of that? And hopefully some of your interviewees will have an opportunity to relate how they come up with the questions that they came up with, and why it's important to them, and why it might be important to you or the reader.
Mhm. For sure. Yeah, I totally forgot about the option of doing it while we exercise. And so a lot
Exercise,
of people
what's
do
that?
that. Whether they're on a jog, or whether they're on a bike ride, or just commuting in traffic. The audio method of delivering information is certainly something that can be tapped.
Yeah, I mean, so the proliferation of audiobooks indicates that clearly there is a niche for this type of information outreach. I mean, I don't want to be the one reading every single word from that big article. But I think it would be really, really interesting to hear how different people would summarize or distill the thing that they take home. And what I find really fascinating is, like, what I would think is the key finding in a paper isn't necessarily what the author thought or what another reader might think. I think it's all contextual.
Absolutely. And so this is definitely a great opportunity to kind of look into the mind of the investigators and authors, to just find out, exactly what you said, what inspired
Yeah.
them to ask this question.
I wonder if we can also do some reader interviews, to understand
Yeah.
how they consume the journal. And
Mhm.
I'll bet there's going to be similarities, but it would also be a way to learn about a slice of their life, what it's like to be them, and how busy they are, and how we can help them. I don't think we can help them be less busy, but perhaps more informed without a significant effort investment.
Right. That's a great idea. I never even thought about interviewing the readership, because here is an opportunity for us to look at both sides. Where we've
Yeah,
always, most programs have interviewed the authors or the investigators, but it's really nice to know, you know, I'd like to know what the readers were doing to consume the information in this article. Like, how did they digest it? Did they set aside time on a weekend to do it? Did they do it on the fly? Did they do it while their kids were shopping and they were just sitting in the bench at the mall? Or did they, have it, transmitted through some audio, converter to where they could hear it read to them?
yeah, and I get letters to the editor about our content, so clearly they're finding it and they're reading it. I mean, even understanding how they bookmark or receive it through a table of contents or find it through a Google search, or they have a set of search terms automatically sent to them when someone publishes in the space.
Right.
Um, and they were moved enough or disagreed or agreed strongly enough with the article to write a letter. Hearing, we capture the letter and then the response of the authors on print. I wonder if we can capture that on something like this, where the author would give, you know, a snippet of the paper, and then the letter writer would comment, and then the author would respond, just as a way to really bring home that science really is a conversation about people who are really, really interested in this space. I think, I mean, I forget about that. I think that once I publish it, it's done, and then I move on to the next thing. But no, I mean, science grows by increments oftentimes.
Right. The conversation certainly continues after the publication of the article. And so, this could definitely be an opportunity to bring the letter to the editor into an audio format to where it's a conversation. Because often we have to wait several issues before the letter to the editor actually shows up, and then
Yeah.
you're starting to find, okay, oh, where was the original article? See if I can find that.
That's such a great perspective. Actually, I sometimes because I'm on the editorial side, I keep a set of index cards in my head about what's been published, but it's not automatic for people, and I tend to forget that.
Right, right, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm really excited, and I'm honored to be included, in this project going forward, in just exploring ways to discover how information that's being published in the JACR is being absorbed by the readership, and it's triggering conversations,
Yeah.
about the research and articles that are written.
And maybe to make it more fun, if it's visual like this, a video cast, maybe we can even run a rate my room
For
um,
sure. Yeah,
for all the
get a
people
10
who
out of
are
10.
listening. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
And then do something at the end, sort of, this is what it looks like. I just think it hopefully it'll add kind of a fun element
right.
as you learn about content.
Right. Mine will probably get a 4 or 5. I've got this, pretty
I don't know. It's your office is very homey. Like I love that map of Texas. Is that a cup on it?
um,
The wall hanging.
yeah, there's actually spurs on here. This is actually a plaque from the Texas Radiological Society, in appreciation for a talk I gave a couple years ago.
That is awesome. I
Yeah,
love seeing memorabilia like that in people's spaces.
right. I love the shape. It's so recognizable.
Yeah, and I love how is that a one of your kids' drawings next to it?
Yes, my youngest son did that.
So I mean it's interesting because we tend to hang things up that we really value, that we feel is really important to us. So I think it's so super that you have this plaque next to artwork from your youngest. That's so
Right.
cool.
Yeah, and my FACR certificate is right above them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am really, really looking forward to this particular adventure. I think it's going to be super, and I can't decide if I want to know what's coming up, in terms of how as you develop this, or if I want to be surprised and see what the next installment's going to look like, so that I get to see it and receive it the way our readers and our audience is going to be engaging with it.
Got it. Well, hopefully we won't have too much of an element of surprise. So definitely want to get your opinions and insights as we move forward with this.
Yeah. No puppets.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
All right. Well, keep me surprised.
All right.
Thank you
Wonderful.
so much for thank you so much for this interview. I had so much fun.
Yes.
You're really easy to talk to, very engaging, and I'm sure our future interviewees would love to participate. So thank you.
Thanks. Well, you made it very easy, and so yeah. So it's definitely a two-way street for sure.